Just after 9 o'clock, I have Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center here in studio. If you're watching on social media, thank you so much. Go ahead and share this out. Let me know what you got going on today. I'm going to kick this on the FM, and we are going to have some fun. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA. It's Kickstart. My name is Gardy. I have a guest and friend in studio. I'm going to let him introduce himself and then share everything that he has going on in the world. And I know there's a lot that Dr. Aaron Chapa has going on. Whenever you've been in business as long as he has and has helped as many people as he has and is continuing to do, there's always some good news to share. Dr. Chapa, how you doing today?
Dude, Gardy, what an introduction. That makes me excited. Yes, we have definitely are thankful. We are grateful for the amount of people that we've been able to help over the years and serve. And, you know, I was sitting in a seminar this past weekend, and it was a virtual seminar, I hate to say. I'm definitely ready for a live event. And but I'm thankful for education, you know, and we are at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center thankful for the opportunity to re-educate what we get from other people around the country. And, you know, it was a great program around supporting, inflammation in the nervous system, in the brain, how to deal with, some of the long haulers syndrome that people are dealing with in chronic immune disorders, dealing with COVID or other viral pathogens that attack us, or even bacterial challenges that people are dealing with and why the body breaks down. And, you know, on that note of education for us, as we get filled up, we want to turn that around and fill up our patients, and we want to give back to the community. And so every month we have always committed to doing classes around different topics. This month we're going to be covering thyroid, and that happens to be tonight. So tonight I want to invite you personally, if you have never been to one of our events, if you've been to our events, we always have different topics. Tonight's topic is on thyroid health, and the thyroid is your metabolic diesel engine. It is going to be the ins and outs of how to just work with thyroid conditions. You, your friends, your family, your loved ones, somebody in your inner circle, outer circle is dealing with thyroid challenges, and we just want to invite you to a class tonight to understand the inner workings of the thyroid more better, as well as some testing that you can do to understand where the thyroid is in an assessment tool, and what we offer as therapies to help support endocrine dysfunction. And when the endocrine system, your hormonal system, your thyroid diesel engine is not performing at your best, you might be dealing with weight issues, or you might be dealing with hair falling out or skin challenges, or just feeling a little bit depressed or a little bit weird palpitations and sensations in your heart that you're not familiar with or comfortable with. And it could be from your thyroid. And we want to share with you, is it the thyroid, or is it the thyroid being bullied by something else? And what is that something else? And we're going to talk about that tonight too. So at 6:30 p.m. at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we invite you to come out and be a part of what we're doing to educate our community on how to live better, be better, and stay better. Living Well is a firm believer that all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition, that means you get to choose the nutrition you put in, can make all the difference. And so we just encourage you to be a part of that. Call us at 281-554-8600 and come hang out with us tonight, 6:30 p.m. at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center.
Quick question about that, about the thyroid. If somebody was having issues with the thyroid, is that something they would automatically know, or are there people out there that are having thyroid issues and they have no idea?
Well, so a lot of times it comes on as this underlying, I'm gaining weight, and they think initially I just need to lay off the alcohol, or I need to, stop eating the sugar, and they kind of go to the I know what I need to do phase. But then they start making changes and things don't improve. And then they start finding themselves a little bit more dragging in the morning. They can't get out of bed. Their normal patterns of life that they were doing seems to have caught up to them. And some people call that the case of the suddenlies. They call it, I turned 30. Some people say I turned 40. They can almost tell you when that happened. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So something shifted. And so they start just replaying, okay, I've been making these changes, I've been doing these things, and I still feel like garbage, and I just need to, do an assessment. The challenge is most people that go in for standard blood work, they don't run a full panel on the thyroid and evaluate the well, they don't really run a full panel anyway. One of the biggest complaints that I personally have with, modern Western medicine approaches is that we have endocrinology that only focuses on endocrine issues. But what about the liver? What is its play? going on? Why aren't we evaluating the liver when we evaluate endocrine system? Or why aren't we looking at digestion and food and intake? I was sitting in this seminar myself, and I'm listening to people talk about all the complexities of the immune system and the brain intricacies with the immune system. But the underlying message that I got is what I always get. All life starts and stops at the cellular level. We bypass the simple and really addressing food, because most people think they're eating the right thing and they're not. They're still eating inflammatory foods. We had a lady that we took off of, a food allergy called, wheat, gluten, tortillas, pita bread, chips even that have gluten laced in it, oatmeals. And we had to take her off this stuff. And, and I guess we weren't, clear enough, because she felt like pita bread was still on her menu, and she felt like some of these, gluten products were still on her menu, and she couldn't.
Is that because of the marketing? Because it seems like it's a healthier option, right? It's like
that's right.
Healthier options, pita marketing, and makes sense to me.
And I think that's a part of it. I mean, most food that people call healthy today is healthy only because of great marketing, designed marketing. I was just YouTube marketing strategies around food, and you will find some of the coolest, eye-opening videos of how they're hoodwinking you and tricking you into buying into their food source. I mean, there are hundreds and millions of dollars spent on marketing a food to you so that you'll buy more of it. And and then not only that, the food itself is chemically altered in order to enhance your taste buds and eliminate the law of diminishing returns, so that you return back to that food that ever seems to give you that satisfaction in your mouth. It's like Pop Rocks. Remember Pop Rocks back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
You throw those in your mouth, and your mouth is like sensitized, like with all these different experiences, and you're like a party in your mouth,
Yeah.
Well, if food can do that, they can, basically create a dopamine hit, and the dopamine is the addictive neurohormone that brings you back to that fun, excitement, I need this sensation. And, so food is a really, really big conversation that we're having more and more. We're doing it with our MacroFix program. Our MacroFix program is basically set up to help people see the rules of food. So like we have rules on the road. We know we're supposed to drive on this side of the road. We're supposed to follow these speed limit signs, and we're abide by, these traffic signs. And if we don't, there potentially is a trouble that might be lurking on the side of the road, in the form of law enforcement or a ticket or a crash. And so we abide by the rules in order to protect ourselves and our motor vehicles. We have rules that we can apply to food so that people stay on the road, and the road is towards good health. And it's your life, your health, your choice. You get to choose, and 80-90% of the time, it is just that. It's your choices that have led you into the conundrum that you're in, and we at Living Well want to help you sidestep those pitfalls and those potholes and get you around the traffic jams of health and get you back in the game. And so we look, bringing back this full circle to the blood issue, is we run a blood panel in our office that encompasses the whole matrix of the body. We look at inflammation systemically, which means throughout. We look at the thyroid, not just the thyroid stimulating hormone, but we look at the autoimmune factors that might be playing. We look at the production so we can see, are we getting good feedback loops between the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the thyroid. We're not just assessing, the thyroid itself. We want to look at all factors. We look at adrenal activity. We look at liver activity, digestive activity, stomach acid production. When we look at blood work from a functional medicine perspective, we go back to the analogy. Gardy, let me ask you a quick question. And I'll ask all of you also, what part of the watch tells time?
It's all of it.
All of it, right? There's no one part that you can take out of the watch and get it to continue to work.
Right.
And so the body's the same way. We're so hyper-focused neurologically on the brain or cardiovascularly on the heart or digestively on the digestive tract, and we forget that there's other pieces of the human experience that play into every one of those other systems. It's called synergy, and we've got to get synergistic in our approach and getting everybody to sing off the same health sheet of music so that you are singing in harmony and everybody can see your radiance. Doesn't that sound lovely?
Mm-hmm. This sounds good.
Yeah. I like how you brought the sound back into our sheet of music.
Yeah. Especially when you're putting work in and you feel good. You want everybody to see that.
Yeah, well, sitting in this seminar, they used a really cool word, and I wasn't familiar with it. Maybe some of you have heard it. It's called senescence, immune senescence. You ever heard of this? And I'm like, whoa.
No, I haven't.
I asked my wife, I said, what is senescence? And she goes, I don't know. So we had to Google it,
Yeah.
and so Google Translate basically gave us a state of becoming old, senescence. So it's SENESCENCE, a state of becoming old. And it made me think about one of my mentors. He would talk about we're all in a life cycle, and we are all born, we develop, right? We develop rapidly in the beginning, and we actually are always developing, but we get to this pinnacle point where we start experiencing like a peak, and then it starts to kind of decline, and there's a state of declination, a declining, that state of becoming old, the senescence space. And one of my mentors calls it the pauses of life. And the pauses of life could be menopause, it could be andropause. So menopause would be like female hormone dysregulation, slowing down, shifting into what we call the second puberty.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking, no, I didn't like the first puberty, I don't want to go through another puberty. Well,
Right.
you do, and it just means a transition. Right? So the hormonal structure changes, and they produce less in the form of fertility hormones, and they are more what we call a stable, path where they don't have the ups and downs and swings in their hormonal chain. But they've been doing this hormonal swinging for so long that their system has a hard time transitioning into that next phase. And men go through the same thing called andropause. I call it menopause, or people call it, a midlife crisis, for the guys. But it also happens to your electrical system, electropause, cardiovascular pause, where you start seeing like transitions in cardiovascular activity. And it happens in the elastic tissue of your connective tissue, which is why things seem to kind of sag as you get older. This senescence idea is a kind of a cool word I've been chewing on. And your immune system, your digestive system, your brain system all goes through a life cycle. And so what are you doing to regenerate your immune life cycle? And so I thought we would just kind of talk a little bit about, some of the things that we do to enhance the immunity. We're going into the fall. Supposedly it's going to be chilly. Did you hear about this on Wednesday?
I did.
That's exciting. My wife is excited. People are excited. The transitions of life. We like transitions of life in seasons, but we don't really like transitions of life in our body because they seem like they're out of our control. And I think I really want to emphasize the idea that you are in more control than you realize. Simply, for example, you can increase thymic activity, thymic being T regulator cells, your immune cells, just by doing a month worth of Thymex in our office that stimulates the thymus, or thymus PMG that feeds into the thymus gland that produces your T cells. And you can upregulate. You can take sesame seed oil, and you could mix these two together and stimulate the bone marrow to produce more T regulator cells and upregulate your immune system. And so you could do what we call a sequential bolstering, a strengthening activity for the next 3 to 4 months, or even just the next month. You can pick and choose and integrate technology of food and nutrition into your lifestyle, into your food choices, your water choices, the things we talk about so regularly on the show, and in order to make your life better. Because your immune system is it's your army. Would you want to starve your army, Gardy?
No.
I don't. I mean, I want my army to be prepped and ready for whatever might come down the pike, because we don't know how your body's going to respond. We can't predict how it's going to respond to this pathogen or this pathogen. But many people know. They went out of the country, they came back, and they never were the same. Or they went into the hospital